Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Governor Steve Bullock stresses the importance of sacrifice for all of Montana. This as Bullock announces he will likely extend the stay-at-home order for another 2 weeks across the state, and National Guard members begin screening and testing travelers at our airports and train stations. Well, the governor expressing all generations, including younger generations, need to stay home. He pointed out in Gallatin County, which now has more than 100 cases, more than 72 are people under the age of 60. He says although staying home may seem basic and mundane, it is absolutely critical, and it's a sacrifice we must make.
I can't stress enough that every step that Montanans take now and in the following weeks will make all the difference in managing through this health crisis. And I should note, I also say in the following weeks that note that the directives, the vast majority of the directives that we've put in place are set to expire next Friday, April 10th. While we haven't done it yet, I do anticipate that we'll be extending those orders.
Now, the governor says he expects to announce the stay-at-home extension early next week. That extension, again, potentially running another 2 weeks through April 24th. Well, Governor Bullock also covered a number of other issues at Friday's conference. Q2's Jay Cohn joins us tonight with more on that.
In addition to encouraging Montanans to stay home to prevent the community spread of the COVID-19 virus, the governor did outline specific measures the state is taking to ensure that Montanans in need are taken care of.
As we continue to do everything possible to protect Montanans from the spread of the virus, making sure that children and families in our state don't go hungry is a crucial priority. No Montanan should have to worry about putting food on the table for themselves and their families, especially during a global pandemic. I'd like to share several steps that we're taking to ensure food security for those Montana families in need during the state of emergency.
Bullock said Montana is beefing up its federal supplies for food pantries and senior centers and was doing everything in its power to make sure citizens in need get the maximum available food assistance. Other issues the governor was asked about today: was he considering postponing the June 2nd primary? The governor said no. All 56 counties, he said, have decided to go with mail ballots. Was he considering stopping all commercial flights into the state? No, he said that would not make sense for any state. But he did point out anyone arriving in Montana for non-work reasons is subject to a 14-day quarantine. And is he concerned about Keystone Pipeline workers increasing the health risk in rural communities? Bullock says he's in fact had a conversation with the Premier of Alberta about that, but pipeline construction is considered an essential activity, and the company involved, TC Energy, he said, is taking additional steps to isolate its work crews. On a lighter note, the governor also said all this discussion of social distancing has led to some creative ways to determine just how far is 6 feet apart. The governor said it's about the length of 2 shopping carts or 6 growlers from your favorite local craft brewery put end to end. You get the idea. From the Billings Heights, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
All right. Thanks so much, Jay, and thanks for the laugh. Well, members of the Montana National Guard branches deployed to Montana airports and train stations today. They are ordered to conduct voluntary temperature checks on passengers arriving into Montana from another state or country. According to the Pentagon, nearly 19,000 National Guard troops have been deployed across the U.S.
Right here, we are just kind of assisting the state of Montana. We're assisting our community by offering people the opportunity to have their temperature taken and ask them a quick few questions. We're also making them aware of the governor's directive that everyone that comes into the state from out of state be self-quarantined for 2 weeks. And if they do indicate that they may be symptomatic of having COVID-19, we're trying to connect them to medical providers and also just generally educating the public about the symptoms and the signs of it and where they can get help.
And Governor Bullock has directed that travelers arriving to Montana for non-work related purposes must undergo a 14-day self-quarantine. Well, as of today, 38 states have issued stay-at-home orders due to COVID-19, but some of Montana's neighboring states have not. While officials in some areas of Wyoming have ordered a partial lockdown, states like North Dakota and South Dakota, as well as Nebraska, have not. According to Business Insider, the state and city populations affected by some kind of stay-at-home order include about 90% of the population. Well, some changes moving forward across Billings and Yellowstone County in response to COVID-19. Those deal with testing, isolation, and donations. Q2's David J. standing by now in the newsroom with all those details, everything we need to know. David.
Well, Jeanelle, the Unified Health Command is helping in 3 areas: community care, community response, and economic recovery. With that, Riverstone Health has set up a mobile testing van, and the Metro Park, Montana Pavilion will be used for quarantine and isolation. Yellowstone County DES Coordinator K.C. Williams will work with Health Officer John Felton as a co-commander and talked about the site.
This site, let me be clear, is not an overflow for homeless people. This is set up specifically for people who are asked to or ordered to isolate and quarantine who have nowhere else to do that. For those who have confirmed and suspected cases of COVID, before anybody is admitted to that site, there is a screening that goes on, a triage and testing procedure that goes on, and guides that will be temporarily housed in that location. It has security, it has staff.
We have repurposed a Riverstone Health van to be deployed to long-term care facilities, nursing homes, the detention center, and similar congregate care facilities. If a resident of one of these facilities has a physician order for COVID-19 testing, the facility in which they live places a call to Riverstone Health and requests that the mobile testing unit come to them.
And the Unified Health Command also said it will need volunteers with a healthcare background. Along with the isolation and quarantine site at the Montana Pavilion, the Metro Sandstone building will be the place to drop off donations of medical supplies. A list of what is needed is in the story at KTVQ.com. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, David. Well, all this in an effort to slow the virus that's now upped Montana's confirmed cases to 262 tonight. 6 of those in Toole County at a Shelby long-term care facility. The 262 number is a jump of 19 cases since this morning alone. There have been no new deaths reported since Wednesday. But in Gallatin County, as I mentioned before, the number of cases now tops 101 to be exact, with 8 more reported this evening. A Yellowstone County man in his 30s tested positive this morning, and 2 more Yellowstone cases were reported just under an hour ago for a total of 38. Well, Wyoming Department of Health says it is running so low on supplies, it's being forced to cut back on testing. The state's public health laboratory now only tests people that fall under the categories listed on your screen. Wyoming's healthcare providers have been asked to send samples for other patients to private laboratories. Well, tonight in Wyoming, coronavirus cases are up to 162. The state has not reported any deaths. Laramie County has the highest number of positive tests at 37. Well, data shows people touch their faces an average of 23 times per hour. 44% of that includes contact with eyes, nose, or mouth. Well, during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is important that we all remember to wash our hands thoroughly and avoid touching our faces. But the one question on many minds right now is, should we wear masks? And if we do they work? Well, today we spoke with Dr. Brad Fuller, and he explained that wearing a mask when out and about can help prevent the spread of germs.
Have a very important role. Definitely the N95 masks should be saved for healthcare providers because those masks are more special and they help prevent the providers catching the virus. Those masks filter out the virus. The other masks that we see other people wearing, or the idea of scarves or something like that, that actually helps prevent those people from giving the virus to others that might be compromised. There may be a little bit of benefit from those people wearing those masks or scarves from inhaling some particulate matter that carries the virus.
Now, Montana does not have a directive in place, but many states, including Colorado, have already recommended people wear masks when out in public. Well, an update tonight from the Department of Labor. The state has issued more than 35,000 Montanans unemployment benefits since the coronavirus outbreak. As we previously reported, the site initially crashed from an overwhelming number of requests. So the department has to increase technology and get the site back up and running. It has done that, as well as the website. Officials also report more than 470,000 phone calls. So an additional 70 people have been trained to help answer those calls. As the volume of requests increases, the state will also bring back retired staff members to help. With the pandemic affecting healthcare workers and supplies worldwide, Montana is coming together to make sure we are ready. In the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak, the Montana Health Network and St. John's United are partnering to provide free CNA classes. Now, this move to give healthcare workers a much-needed break and educate future professionals. The Certified CNA program offers a new class each month. The expedited classes last 1 to 2 weeks and can mostly be completed from home.
Starting out as a CNA and working your way up, whether it be to a nurse or a doctor, is a great way to start into the healthcare field. And Mr. David Trost, President and CEO over at St. John's United there in Billings, had a vision and still has a vision to reach out to the community of Billings and other communities in eastern Montana, really, in this time of expanded need for healthcare workers.
There are 22 partner facilities across Montana where students can complete clinicals as well. We'll have more details on this opportunity tonight at 10 o'clock. Well, we love hearing from our community, all the different ways you are saying thank you to those stepping up and helping save lives during this pandemic. Here's one example. 15-year-old Mackenzie Anderson from Malta. She wrote a letter to Billings Clinic.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work, time, and effort you're putting in during this crazy and scary time. You are the people who are bringing hope to the hopeless and strength to the weary. Many of us citizens are having to stay home, quarantined, to try and protect ourselves from corona. But you all choose to get out of the comfort of your homes and put others' lives before your own. For that, I'm extremely thankful and grateful for. Billings is extremely lucky to have wonderful people like yourselves protecting and caring for us.
All right, thanks, Mackenzie. Now, to hear the rest of Mackenzie's thank you letter, just visit online at KTVQ.com and email us your stories, please, that we can share on air about others making a difference. Our email is news@ktvq.com. Ahead on tonight's 5:30 News, Russ Riesinger takes us aboard the USS Billings with an update on how things are going since the COVID-19 outbreak. And later in sports, the story of one Montana football player who continues to chase his dream of pro ball in Europe, even though he's stuck in quarantine.
Considering we started the day at 11 degrees, just 5 degrees above the record for the date. For the coldest reading ever, 44 was a nice recovery. We'll show you where it got really cold with the weather coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.